What up, guys? Hey, thanks for tuning in. Uh, Look, hey, Instagram does not allow you to. Instagram does not allow you to tag what you want to do. So what I'm doing is I'm literally. Well, no, I just got in there. What's up? What's up, Miss Peggy? What are you doing? Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. Hey, listen, so we're going to come live. Mostly, I go over real estate related topics. Today, I just want to talk about, kind of going to that next level. So, we're going to kind of keep it um, on topic, but, this is just going to kind of go next level into just a mindset thing. So, I'm almost done reading a book called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, and it's been one of the most it's been one of the most impactful books that I've ever read. And most of you guys know, what's up, Jason Dillon? Thanks for tuning in, my dude. Most of you guys know that I'm huge into personal development. I come live every Monday, and normally I'm talking about real estate related things. So for those of you guys that don't know me, I started in my sales journey about I don't know, probably about 8, 9 years ago, and I was a wild child. I didn't go to college. Actually, I tried to go to college 2 or 3 times, and I got a total of like three credit hours. It just wasn't for me. I wasn't challenged. I didn't feel a challenge, and but I was definitely an intense guy. I've always been a very intense guy in everything that I've done. And oh, dude, look at this. Hold on, guys. I got a little. I totally forgot about this thing, dude. I'm balling. But anyways, so let me get my IG live here. What's up, guys? Thank you guys for tuning in. But I've always been a fanatical in everything that I've done. I've always been an intense person. I've always been, just a highly motivated, highly driven person. Even when it came to sports and when it came to, I remember when I was in third grade, I think it was third grade, but I remember we had accelerated math. I was a super, super smart, nerdy kid. I guess you'd call it that, but I mean, at that point in time, I was really big into math. But I remember we had it was called AM, accelerated math, and I remember trying to go and do as many lessons and do 5, 6, 7 extra lessons a day because I wanted to beat everyone else. And yeah, so I mean, I've always been a super intense dude in everything that I've ever done. If I am asphyxiated on looking at cars, I'm going to look at them for hours a day. If I am, intense at going to the gym, I'm going to be in the gym hours a day, and I'm going to try to outdo everybody. And so I've always had that mentality. Well, when I got out of high school, I really didn't have a whole lot of vision, and so I grew up in a really small town, so I wanted to be, I wanted people to like me. I wanted people to, sorry. I wanted people to love me. I wanted to be the life of the party. So, man, I was intense when it came to partying. I was raged into drinking, and I decided that wasn't where I wanted my life to go, and I knew that was a really destructive path that wasn't going to lead me in the right direction. And so I remember a long night of drinking, and I drove. Then the next day, I was just like, man, this isn't for me. Like, this isn't the route I want to take. And so I drove all the way to Tennessee like 2 days later and moved. And I cut ties with everybody in my past. And I don't say that because I want a pity party. I don't want anybody to think that I was like, he had didn't have a great upraising. I had a great upraising, right? It wasn't a shortage of money. My dad was a very successful business guy, so it wasn't anything like that. But I was just an intense guy that wanted to prove something, and my path that I was taking was a destructive path. It wasn't anything that was good. It wasn't anything that was positive. And so I moved to Tennessee and didn't know anybody. My grandmother lived here, so that was just the one place. I remember always going to the Smoky Mountains. So I was like, well, I'm going to move to Knoxville, and I'm going to go to college. And actually, I told everybody that I was, I'd already been accepted into UT, lied to everybody, told them, like, oh, I'm going to UT. And, well, I wasn't going to school. I mean, my gosh, I made it to Pellissippi, and I remember I've got a couple people that may end up tuning in on this. I went to a couple classes. They saw me for 2 or 3 days, and then they never saw me again. What's up, Mr. Robert? What's going on? Guys, thanks for tuning in. So I'm sharing a little bit of my testimony, but I'm also going to kind of go into, going into another level, going farther than you've ever gone. And so once again, I've always been that super intense person, and super competitive. Like for my birthday, I remember when I turned 18, we were having a beer chugging contest, and all night long I was like, ain't nobody gonna beat me, right? And what I did is I moved to Tennessee, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna drink, I'm not gonna do anything like that, and I'm gonna go into, instead of the destructive, I'm gonna do something constructive. And so I got really big in the gym, and I was like, working out 3 hours a day, just pounding it out. And that's when I got into sales. I decided that Pellissippi wasn't for me. I went to 2 or 3 classes, and I think I had my friend Kendra and a couple other people here recently had mentioned it, but my friend Kendra, she said, saw you for 2 classes, never saw you again. And so anyways, I had to find something. So I went to go work at Buckle. I went and sold blue jeans and T-shirts. And I remember that's when I really first learned the art of sales and the art of talking to people. And I remember, at first, I was just chatty, just a social guy. But I remember okay, how do I get these people from throwing their guard up into talking to me? How can I convert them to where I can actually close somebody, right? And hold on one second. I wanted to close them, man. I wanted to get them to where they wanted to. I wanted to be able to convert them into. Wanted to convert them to where I could sell them some stuff, man. Plain and simple. I wanted to sell them some stuff. And so, I remember, when somebody come in, oh man, I'm just looking great. Hey, I totally understand. What specifically are you looking for? What are you looking for? Oh, gotcha. Well, obviously they come into a store, they're looking for something, right? And so the natural reaction is to throw up a defense mechanism. Oh, I'm just looking. And so I got good at relating to people. I got good at overcoming these objections. And that's when I got recruited. So, I remember my last month there was December. This is probably December 2010, maybe December 2011. And I remember I sold $100,000 worth of blue jeans, if you can believe it. Can you believe that, Brian? $100,000. Who spends that much money? But I sold $100,000 worth of blue jeans, and I was hustling, man. I was running the floors, working on, getting as many clients as I could, and I was hungry, man. And I made 3% commission off of that much. But in retail, I was making $3,000 that month, in addition to what my salary was. So as a young kid, that's a lot of money. Well, I finally, they're like, man, this guy's he's a hustler, and I got recruited by a company called Aspen Contractor. They're door-to-door roofing sales guys, and that was the first time that I ever learned about the hustle. And I was door knocking people. And that was the first time I'd ever made any real money. I remember one month I made $12,000, $15,000. I was like, whoa. That was life changing. And I made, literally at the end of that year, I think I'd made $99,300. And so, I knew I had made a couple cash deals. So it was that was my first year to ever break 6 figures. And I just turned 21, 22 at the time. And, but I remember what it was to hustle. Right, and I remember going and jumping on roofs and door knocking and being hot and being in the middle of July. Now, thankfully, I was in Connecticut, so it wasn't as hot as it would be down here, but it was still hot. You know, you get on top of an asphalt roof. Ask my buddy Aaron Jones. It gets hot. It gets hot out there climbing on some roofs. And but I just remember that I'm like, okay, making steps. And I never knew, you know. I mean, I remember just being a motivated guy, but still didn't have purpose. Didn't know where my next check was coming from. Didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And what I'm getting at, guys, is there's a course of everything that we're doing. And there was struggles, and I mean, man, I moved away, you know, broke every relationship that I had. I moved away at this point in time twice in the matter of 2 or 3 years. I'd moved different states, and I was willing to make the sacrifice because, man, at the time I wanted to make money. And at the end of it, so I came back and I was like, all right, this travel stuff isn't for me. And I got into timeshare. And timeshare was actually the best thing that's ever happened to me. I call it crime share now. And, you know, if I were to look back at it, I sold every one of my deals ethically, but I knew that this wasn't what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? All my timeshare guys, no offense, but there's a shelf life when it comes to that kind of stuff. And but I remember one of my buddies, Malcolm Kiflay, he introduced me to a book called The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. And I remember everybody was really big on personal growth and development. And then I kind of got out of that and I was like, all right, what can I do? And so I got really big into network marketing. And that's when really my mind, and what we're going to get into, guys, is the power of the mind. But I got really big into personal growth. And that was in 2012. So it's 2019, so the last 7 years I've been obsessed, asphyxiated, a freak, fanatical about personal growth. I've read hundreds of books. I've listened to thousands of hours of audio programs, and that's kind of where we'll kind of fast track. Actually, I mean, there's a few other careers I made, but I was hopping around, guys. But I'd always been a hustler since day one, you know, and that goes deep into from your childhood. There's so much that happens in your childhood that corresponds with how you act as an adult. And I remember, man, as a kid, I remember like I wasn't raised by my biological father. He's a big piece of crap. But my dad raised me, you know, from when I was, you know, since I was 2. And I remember, like, I always wanted to impress my dad. I never wanted to disappoint him. In fact, I would rather an ass whooping than my dad to sit down and have a talk with me. And you can ask my sisters; they felt the same way. Like, I would much rather get a licking, which I only got 2. I only got whipped twice in my life by my dad because he didn't have to. I respected him. I feared him. You know, I mean, I think that's what we lack now as kids is, you know, people aren't, you know, they're not afraid of their dad. My son's going to be terrified of me because I'll beat his ass. But, you know, I mean, I respected him. I always wanted him to be proud of me. So fast forward it, I worked at Verizon and I started learning. I was constantly reading, and, you know, at that point in time, I was one of the top sales guys, been top sales guy. I was one of the fastest growing, I think it was called regional directors for Visalis. I was in network marketing. But I was always a fanatical, right? But what I'm getting at is there's always so much more. And I look back at every position that I've ever been in, and I always could have done more, right? And never, I mean, even before I got into real estate, even the first year of real estate, even my second year of real estate, guys, to where I'm 27 years old. And at that point in time, I've done really well for myself. I've grown business. I've bought 2 homes since then. And I really never really fully realized like what was my true passion, right? Why? Like, how much further could I go? You know, and I thought real estate was the end. You know, I look at real estate as a facet. There's so many different avenues, right? So you look at real estate and how many facets of the business are there, right? How many different industries are there? You can buy real estate, you can sell real estate, you can loan money for real estate, you can be the title company that insures title policies on the real estate. You can be the attorney that represents the real estate, right? You can be the company that manages the real estate. You can be the investor that flips the real estate. There's so many. And until you started developing my mind, until I realized that there's more potential out there, and that every time that I got comfortable, it's my mind controlling me, right? It's me not being in control of my mind. Like when you're like talking about David in this book, he gets to a point where he's physically done, and his mind is, there's throbbing pains going down his leg. Dude's running with 2 broken legs, by the way. And he's like, I had to get in control of my mind, and I had to go and dip down. He called it a cookie jar. He had to dip down in the cookie jar and remember where he come from, all the struggles that he ever had to go through to get where he was today. And at this point in time, the dude's just trying to become a Navy SEAL, right? Which is a huge feat by itself. But I look back at my own personal experiences. I'm like, how many times have you failed? How many times have you could have failed even more? How many times have you missed opportunities because you let your mind get in front of your opportunity, right? How many times have I let fear supersede my mindset to where I didn't make the next phone call, right? And I look at it, I'm like, man, where is the next thing going to come from? Like, what is the next thing? And in this book, it talks about like, what am I capable of doing? And I look at myself and I look at like, man, where I'm 28 now, and I look at where I've come from, what the struggles that I've been through, but what is my true potential? How much farther could I go? And you need to ask yourself, you're watching this podcast, you're looking at it, like, what have I done? What significant in my life have I done? What have I contributed to this planet? Right? And you ask yourself, like, what have we done to help other people? Have you done anything to contribute to society? And if not, what can you do? What is your potential? Right? What is your purpose? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? Like, if you're in a deadbeat job and you hate coming to work every day, first off, be grateful. Second off, if you have another opportunity, leave it, because you're stopping somebody else from being in that position, right? Like, I could stay in the exact same position that I'm at now and live comfortably for the rest of my life, or I could reach farther and identify more obstacles, and I could go and punch through more walls and identify what I'm really called to do, and that's help other people. I could go out and I could sit and I could be complacent and do the same deals every single year and like, man, I'm living better than I've ever lived before. I'm living better than most people that I know. At 28, the only debt that I have is a house. My company's got 0 debt. And I could sit here and say like, oh man, I've made it. But what am I doing? I'm letting my mind get comfortable. I'm letting my mind get complacent. And I do. I mean, I look at it like, man, I've sacrificed for 3 hard years. I put, 6 years of work in 3 years. But now I'm like, man, you haven't even scratched the surface. Because you look at companies that have been in business for 10 years or 5 years that have done far more things than my company's been able to do. And that's what motivates me. That's what gets my mind. Like, I will never play the victim mentality. I will never blame. And you know what? Somebody, no one even called me out about it, but I was thinking about my Tennessee Vols basketball team, which I'm so upset with them. And I made excuses about the refs' bad calls, and someone stopped blaming the refs. And I'm like, man, really. And if you look at it, it's like you could have a serious case, but like, you know what? They put themselves in that situation. They weren't mentally prepared to go out and play the games that they did, right? What do you think the difference is between those teams that do go undefeated, which is very rarely ever happened, but what do you think? They were mentally so far in front of other people that they could go out and not lose a game because they were mentally there, not physically, not that they're better players. I mean, you look at Kentucky's roster this year. They are stacked. They're 5 stars. They lost more games, Tennessee. Why? Because they're not mentally there. They're kids. And what I challenge everyone, what I challenge myself, what I challenge you, is you've got to realize that there's so much more that you can do. There's so much more potential that you haven't even untapped. You know, David talks about in his book, he's like, man, I'm mentally calloused, right? So like when it comes to pain or when it comes to fear and when it comes to defeat, I'm so mentally prepared that I can go another 40%. And I look at myself and I'm like, man, you know, like I talk about, like I don't have enough time in my day. No, what I'm doing is I'm being a little bitch and I'm putting excuses in front of myself, you know, instead of doing that. Like if I dug deep enough and I said, man, why am I doing this? Why go through this? Why go out and every day for the last 3 years pick up the phone, call people just for them to tell me no every single time? Why would you do that? Right? Why would companies go and try to get partners or go, and why would somebody that's in network marketing go and get no? Why would you go and get in an industry of sales where it's going to take you 7 to 15 times per every prospect that you have just for them to tell you no? Why would a triathlete go through all the mental and physical barriers every single day, go out and destroy their bodies every single day? Because our minds can go so much farther. What we think is capable isn't even scratching the surface. Look at the 4-minute mile. You know, God, however long ago it was when the first person ever hit the 4-minute mile. No one ever thought it was possible, and the minute somebody did it, boom, 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 boom. A whole lot of other people done it. Right? You look at the running a marathon. You're like, I'm so out of shape right now. But I guarantee the minute I go out and say, man, I'm running a marathon. I'm going to run a marathon. And I go and I make that commitment. And then I stop putting fear and I stop putting doubt and I stop putting like my mind saying, oh man, I'm tired, I'm physically exhausted. When I stop putting the excuses first and just suck it up and go and do it and realize that the mind can do so much more than we really think, that's when I'll do it. Right? And today, I'm not perfect, guys. I'm far from it. I'm not anywhere close to it. I'm not 3% perfect. Today, I was laying in bed. I set my alarm for 5 o'clock, and I was wide awake, and I didn't want to get out of bed. And I didn't get out of bed. 6 o'clock. I was wide awake. I was, man, I'm ready to get out of bed. I know Brian, my man, he wakes up at 5 every day. He's like, man, Jay's a little bee. He's like a little scared, little bee. I wasn't scared to get up. I just didn't want to. And you know, man, like it made me sick. Like that's all I could think about all day long. Is like I should have got out of bed and I should have already been at the gym the first thing in the morning. And so now, like I'm like been up for hours and hours now. At this point in time, it's 12:30. Like that's all that's consumed my mind all day long. Is I should have got up and I should have went out and done that and I should have been able to have already been to the office before any single one else. And I should have already made 50 calls long before anyone else showed up. That's what is capable. And you go out and you give up on every time. Like when I'm on these phone calls and I'm getting no. I'll get somebody that cusses me out. If I was insecure about what I thought, I would listen to what they were saying, right? Like that's one thing that I have conditioned myself. That if somebody is reflecting, their negativity towards me, it's not a reflection of me. It's a reflection of themselves. And so I've come over that, but where I've come and reading this book has made me, it's humiliating and it's humbling and it opens your eyes. It opened my eyes to think, man, you haven't done anything. And you say that you've been working 3 years. Who cares? You look at all the other people in this world that sacrificed for decades. And I'll be honest, I've missed a lot of events in the last 3 years. I've missed a lot of family time. I've missed a lot of personal time. I've worked late nights. I've started early. I show up to work every single day. I don't question it. I don't take the days off. I'll take weekends off now, but I don't go out and say, oh, it's I'm in real estate, I can not show up on Tuesday. I don't do that, right? But that's the reason why I'm here now. But I also have mentally prepared myself to where I know that I've got to every single day. Why do you think it's all mental? Everything that we do every single day is all mental. Why do you think these big gym rats just big jacked, yoked up dudes. Why do you think they grunt? Why do you think they make noise? Because they're mentally getting themselves prepared to lift heavier weight than they ever have, right? Because it's a mental thing. It's not like, dude, it's not anything that they got to do that, right? And the biggest challenge that we're all going to have to go out and face is to know that we're not anywhere close, that we have far much more capability. Our mind is way more powerful than we've ever realized. If you're in that situation, if you're watching this video and you claim the victim, that's 100% on you. There is no one else to blame on this planet other than yourself. If you're going through shit, it's because of you. And not if you're a kid or something like that, but like any situation, you have the ability to get yourself out of it if your mind's right. And that's what I'm going to challenge you guys, man. You got to get your mind right. You got to identify who you are. Remember where you've come from, what your journey's been. And then ultimately, you've got to mentally callous yourself. You got to callous your mind to where you can't make excuses anymore. Where golly, man, it's so embarrassing. I mean, I'm embarrassed now to talk about it. David, in his book, he's talking about like how he went out and he stayed out till 1 o'clock in the morning one time, or like when he was going out and recording this book, and he stayed out and he didn't go to bed because he was traveling and whatnot. But they were interviewing and everything. He said till like 1 o'clock. He went to bed at like 1 o'clock. And he was like, you know what? I don't want to get up in the morning. I don't want to go run. Dude went and ran 6 miles on like 4 hours of sleep for his warm-up of the day before he went and recorded all day long. I've been on this video for like 20 minutes and I'm exhausted, right? So he did this all day long, and he's like, the reason I did it is because if I didn't, I would all day be thinking like, man, I should have, and I would have regretted it. Even though he could have went and done it in the evening. So guys, you've got just identify where you're at. Identify what your capabilities are. If you were to push your mind right now to the farthest thing of what you think is possible, I want you to think about that. I want you to close your eyes and think about how far you can get if you had 100%, if your mind was 100% dedicated to doing that. And I also want you to think where you've been to get to where you are now. What struggles, what hardship that you've been through to get to where you are now. And I want you guys, including myself, to go on this journey together and go farther than we've ever gone before. To reach places that we never thought capable. Right? I've been fortunate enough to have been a part of over 400 real estate transactions. And I tell this to all the people all the time. I've been created teams, created companies, started things, and I haven't even scratched the surface of what other people have been able to do. But one thing David talks in his book is like, stop competing with other people and start competing with yourself. And until you can do that, until you're not worried about other people's opinion, you're always going to have to worry about that. So compete with yourself, challenge yourself. Who gives a crap about anyone else and what they've done? Compete with yourself and reach the best you possible. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Listen, this one, I mean, normally I'm just talking off of what's on top of my head. This one I thought a lot about. I've spent like 9-10 hours in the last 2 days just listening to this audio because I've been so obsessed and fixated with it. If you guys haven't read this book, it's called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. It's an incredible book. I challenge you guys, each and every one of you guys, to go read it, listen to it. It'll completely change your perspective. I know it has mine. Thanks, guys.